Hey everyone, welcome back to Airlines Quest. Today we've got a packed episode. We're talking about Air Canada pilots scoring a massive pay raise, Ryanair slashing routes across Germany, and Boeing facing major labor disputes with their workers. It's been a busy few days in the aviation world, so let's dive right in. First up, Air Canada pilots have just ratified a new 4-year agreement that includes a jaw-dropping 42% wage increase. This deal is a huge win for over 5,200 pilots flying for both Air Canada and its lower-cost subsidiary, Air Canada Rouge. And let's be real, this deal couldn't have come at a better time for the airline, which was facing the very real prospect of strikes. So, what's in the deal? Well, the contract was finalized on October 10, 2024, after months of back-and-forth negotiations. According to the Airline Pilots Association, or ALPA, the deal not only includes significant pay raises, but also improves the pilots' quality of life. And let's be honest, that's something that's been long overdue, especially after pilots went nearly a year without a collective agreement. Now here's an interesting stat. 67% of the pilots who voted approved the contract. That's a solid majority, but keep in mind, 99% of eligible pilots actually cast their ballots. That high voter turnout tells us just how crucial this deal was for everyone involved. First Officer Charlene Hudy, who leads the ALPA Master Executive Council, called this the largest labor agreement in Air Canada's history. She also mentioned that this contract helps restore what pilots have lost over the past 2 decades. Think about that for a second. 2 decades of lagging wages and declining working conditions, and now they have a contract that not only addresses those issues, but also lays a foundation for future growth. You've got to remember, this wasn't just about money, it's also about quality of life. Pilots are often away from their families for long stretches, and this deal brings some much-needed improvements in work-life balance. Better schedules, fewer back-to-back flights, and more rest time are all part of the package. Now, let's talk numbers. Under the new agreement, newer pilots will start earning between 75,700 Canadian dollars and 134,000 Canadian dollars annually, depending on their flight hours and seniority. By their 5th year, they could be earning up to 187,000 Canadian dollars. And for those experienced captains flying larger planes like the Boeing 777, they're looking at salaries as high as 367,000 Canadian dollars per year. That's nearly $267,000 in US dollars. Air Canada's CEO, Michael Rousseau, was quick to praise the deal. He said it's mutually beneficial, highlighting that the contract keeps Air Canada's pilots among the best compensated in Canada, while also giving the airline the flexibility it needs to grow its network. And let's be honest, with the global aviation industry still recovering post-pandemic, Air Canada really needs its pilots on board, no pun intended. With the new contract already in effect and set to expire in 2027, this deal puts an end to months of uncertainty. It also includes a ratification payment to compensate pilots for the period they've been flying without a collective agreement. That's a nice little bonus for the folks who've been holding down the fort since September of last year. So, what does this mean for Air Canada moving forward? In the short term, it means no strikes, which is a huge relief for passengers. But long term, this deal could set a precedent for other airlines in North America. Pilots have been under increasing pressure, and this deal could inspire similar movements elsewhere. Only time will tell. Now let's head over to Europe, where things aren't looking quite as rosy. Dublin-based budget airline Ryanair is pulling the plug on flights to 3 major German airports for summer 2025. You heard that right. If you are planning a budget-friendly trip to Germany next year, you might want to rethink your plans. Ryanair confirmed on October 10th that they'll be reducing their German operations by 12% next summer, canceling around 1.8 million seats and 22 routes, including all flights to Dortmund, Dresden, and Leipzig-Halle airports. The airline will also cut its services at Hamburg Airport by a whopping 60%. So, what's the reason behind these drastic cuts? Ryanair is blaming the German government's high aviation taxes and airport fees. Ryanair's CEO, Eddie Wilson, didn't mince words. He pointed out that Germany has only recovered 82% of its pre-COVID traffic volume, making it the worst recovered aviation market in Europe. According to Wilson, the high taxes, security fees, and air traffic control charges are pushing Ryanair to move its capacity to other EU countries where the cost of doing business is lower. Let's take a closer look at the airports impacted. Dortmund, Dresden, and Leipzig-Halle will lose all Ryanair flights, which is a big blow for those cities. particularly for tourism and business travel. Hamburg Airport will see a 60% reduction in Ryanair's services, and this follows an earlier decision to cut 20% of flights at Berlin-Brandenburg Airport, where 6 routes, including Brussels and Krakow, have already been axed. You've got to remember, this isn't just about Ryanair. The airline is essentially sounding the alarm for the entire German aviation market. Wilson even went as far as to say that German citizens are now paying the highest airfares in Europe, largely because of Lufthansa's dominance and the government's unwillingness to lower these aviation taxes. Wilson has been vocal about his frustrations with the German government, particularly with the recent 24% increase in aviation tax and a 50% spike in security fees. He's warned that if the government doesn't step in soon, Germany could lose another 10% of flight capacity by next summer. That's a pretty dire prediction. So, what's next for Ryanair in Germany? For now, it seems like the airline is shifting its focus to other European markets. However, Wilson has made it clear that Ryanair is ready to expand in Germany if the government makes the necessary changes. But until then, passengers will feel the squeeze, not just in terms of fewer flights but also higher ticket prices. If you're planning to travel in Europe next summer, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, let's turn our attention to the US, where Boeing is dealing with some pretty intense labor disputes. The aerospace giant has filed a formal complaint with the National Labor Relations Board, accusing 33,000 factory workers on the West Coast of engaging in bad faith bargaining. This comes as the strike enters its 5th week, and folks, things are getting heated. Boeing's complaint focuses on the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, or IAM, which represents the striking workers. Boeing claims that the union has been putting out a misleading public narrative, making it difficult to reach a deal. In their filing, they also stated that they want to ensure the NLRB and other parties involved have an accurate picture of what's been happening behind closed doors. Now, this strike is a big deal. It's already cost Boeing billions, and S&P Global estimates that the company could lose up to $10 billion in 2024 if the strike continues through the end of the year. That's a huge financial blow for the company, which is already facing challenges in other areas, like production delays and supply chain issues. Even U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg has weighed in, saying that a solution is possible, one that supports both the workers and Boeing's business interests. But as of now, it doesn't seem like either side is ready to budge. Boeing's latest offer included a 30% pay raise over the next 4 years, plus additional bonuses, but the union is holding out for a 40% raise, as well as the reinstatement of a pension plan that was taken away in 2014. The union hasn't responded to Boeing's complaint yet, but they've made it clear they're not backing down anytime soon. In a statement posted on social media, the IAM emphasized that there is no Boeing without the IAM, and they're prepared to continue fighting for what they see as a fair contract. So, where does this leave Boeing and its workers? Unfortunately, it looks like this dispute is far from over. Boeing's financial struggles are only going to worsen the longer this strike continues, and with both sides digging in their heels, it's hard to see an end in sight. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this story as it develops. And that's a wrap for today. What are your thoughts on all of this? Do you think Air Canada's deal will inspire other airlines to follow suit? And what about Ryanair? Will the German government step in to lower taxes? And finally, do you think Boeing and the IAM will reach a deal soon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next update. Thank you.